How to diversify during wartime, a look at meta AI, and thinking about your life as an organization. Enjoy.
Stay alive. Go and play outside. I can't be cool forever, but I can stay alive. Jesus was a carpenter. My daddy sold TVs. My mom watched other people's kids and anticipated needs. And when we go down to get groceries, I would flip through magazines. And I wish
Welcome to the Age of Jeremy. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. You might remember me from such businesses as 32 Academy, Age of Radio, Blockheads, the creator of Merlin, the Smartest Way to Track Your Crypto, Freedom Insurance, Q Financial, just to name a few. This is a podcast all about my business adventures and side quests and all the interesting people that hopefully we meet along the way and can do interviews with. So make sure that you subscribe to this bad boy. Make sure that you follow me at Age of Jeremy across all social media and join my broadcast channel, Dope Insights and Updates. Still working on getting into a regular rhythm of content into there and live streams. But don't worry, stead and steady. Jesus, the heck is wrong with me? Slow and steady wins the race. It's like that ridiculous tortoise. But he's never steered me wrong, even though me and my tortoises sometimes don't get along as best as I think that we should. But I have an amazing show for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about this situation in Iran and how it's going to affect the markets, how it could affect the markets, and why you would want to maybe diversify some of your investments. We're also going to talk a little bit about meta AI. I actually use meta AI to come up with some content for this episode instead of using ChatGPT like I normally do, as my continued push for us to utilize artificial intelligence as a resource as mankind, or for mankind, I guess I should say. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I'm working on, trying to reorganize my life as an organization. I've been going back and looking at the things that have helped get me to this level. And looking at some of the activities that I used to do and really trying to get back into the habit of a lot of those activities. And one of those activities is looking at my life as an organization, or kind of like a business. I like the word organization because we can apply organization to all aspects of our life, and we can apply concepts of organizational leadership and the way that we run organizations to our business. And that's what I'm trying to kind of say is like it's an organization. But the first thing that I want to talk about is a little bit about the situation with Iran. So the United States bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran over the weekend. Iran has been saying that they're not really focused on building weapons and they're trying to just build nuclear energy. But based off the information that I guess the United States have, they felt that that was wrong or a lie. So they bombed them and they blew up those 3 nuclear sites. Iran today made the decision to send 19 missiles to a base that we had in Qatar, I believe it is. But we called and warned them that we were doing that as to not kill any citizens or I guess kill any military personnel. And I guess if there were any citizens there, I don't know why there would be citizens there, but to not kill anybody. And then they bombed it. I think there was a post on True Social that said it was only 13 missiles or 14 missiles, and 13 got knocked down by the defense missiles that I guess the deterrent missiles that went up to block them. And then 1 got through. And then the military said that there was 19 missiles and 1 hit. Either way, from this situation, at some point in time, there was conversation with Israel and Iran that they agreed to have a ceasefire, a tentative ceasefire against their war. I'm not sure exactly the time frame of when that happened and when the missile launch happened, but nonetheless, I know that a lot of our markets in the United States haven't really fully responded to it, if I'm not mistaken. And I haven't I'll just be transparent with you. I haven't been following it like the markets today, like 100%. Probably should have looked at it to see how they're doing right before this, but I didn't. In fact, you know what? Let's go on Bloomberg's right now and just see how the markets ended for the day. And this could give us a brief idea about how Dow futures are up. Let's see. Oil drops. Stocks look up on Trump's ceasefire talk. Markets wrap. It like it didn't have like the S&P futures are up right now. I don't know why this isn't scrolling for me accurately on here. Um, the Nasdaq, I think. Let me see where the Nasdaq ended at. Nasdaq 100 futures are up. So again, I don't think that it really had as an effect as we may have thought on the markets, but nonetheless, when there is some kind of situation in any type of economy or markets where there is a war that's going on, it's not a bad idea to diversify your investment portfolio inside of it. And I've talked about this before. I think it's just really important to always be thinking about what is happening in market so that we can make those assessments of what we should actually be doing. So some of the things that you can do to diversify during wartime, and I did an Instagram post about this. You can go check it out at Age of Jeremy. But one, defense and military contractors are probably one of the best things to diversify into. If you look at some of the people that are big investors in the world, like Warren Buffett, they have invested in some of these larger contractors. So because they're going to obviously profit during war. Now, I personally don't own any wartime or defense contractors, mainly because, as you know, don't kill. While I can't not eat meat as much as I would like to, I can still definitely participate in not owning a company that's takes part in the profit, takes profit from when bad things like this are happening inside of the world. But that doesn't mean that you have to do that. And so if we're looking at those kinds of defense and military contractors, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Grumman, Raytheon are probably some of the larger ones. You can also go and buy some aerospace and defense ETFs that's going to incorporate the entire sector. I would probably recommend doing that. I'm a big fan of ETFs just because you can invest in an entire sector and get a lot of diversification when you do that. And then obviously, as you know, we have our Yield Max ETF strategy, which is buying ETFs for large paying dividends that pay on a monthly basis. But if you're interested in something like that, check out the Warrior Academy or follow Coach JV _ and he talks more about some of that. And then you can get into speaking with one of our salespeople. The other thing is energy and oil. However, because of the situation in Iran, they might, I don't know based off of what happened today, if they would specifically cut off oil reserves and make it difficult for us to get access to oil. And that would cause oil prices to kind of skyrocket, which I guess would be good for people that held oil, but not good for the markets in general because the price of gas will go up. So again, things like oil would normally be beneficial in wartime. The other thing like Exxon Mobil, Chevron, you could also get some energy ETFs, which I've been talking about for really, for the not a really long time, but for over probably the past year, looking at a lot of, nuclear and alternative energy ETFs or uranium ETFs or the stuff that goes into the stuff that creates the energy that we utilize, like the natural resources. You would probably want to look at some of that. So again, if you have a financial advisor, go talk to them, say, hey, look, there might be a war. What do you recommend? Talk to them about defense and military contracts, energy and oil. And again, there's gold and precious metals. So these are classic wartime hedges. A new hedge besides gold and besides silver would be something like Bitcoin. So that could be definitely something that you might want to get involved with because again, Bitcoin is like digital gold. It's going to hold it halves every 4 years. 93% of the supply is already consumed up or out inside of the market. There's only going to be the 7% left over the period of time. So again, it's going to become more finite as it continues, as years go on. So having access to it is beneficial. And you can also use it to the equity that's inside of it to borrow against to then go and buy other assets, which I've been talking about for a while. So again, buy some Bitcoin, but I have silver. I'm looking at silver right now. I keep it in an area next to me that's a wealth corner, very superstitious, very mystic, magic key, whatever you want to say. So I keep that with me. So I have that as well. So those are great hedges. Again, hard assets always do really, really well. Real estate does fantastic. Farmland, agricultural scarcity becomes like a real situation. Again, might be better in other areas than say the United States. The other thing that you can do are other types of commodities. So broad commodities, agriculture, maybe lumber, things of that nature. You can also look at diversifying outside of the country into other countries that might profit during this time, or to diversify out of it to make sure that, like, if there is a country that you think is going to have a larger impact or a larger hit to the economy than another country, you might want to move some of your money into that other country so that it can hedge against some of the war and how it's impacting the economy. So again, reach out to your advisor, ask them what their thoughts are. A regular financial advisor should have enough information about this. They may not talk about the cryptocurrency stuff, but you can get an idea of what are some things that could hedge or you could diversify against during this period of time. And again, there's a lot of profitability for profit. I mean, wars can create profit in lots of areas. I always say there's profit to be made somewhere. You just have to be looking for it. You can make, and also too, you can make money in any type of economy if you know what you're doing. And that's why I encourage everybody to educate themselves on investing and how to invest for themselves so that they can make good decisions, and then just use the financial advisor as maybe a source of wisdom or a source of advice. Again, not a lot of them talk a lot about cryptocurrency. I would have cryptocurrency as a part of your overall portfolio anyway. And we talk a lot about that in our 3-2 Warrior Academy. So if you're interested in that, head on over to Coach JV, watch some of his stuff. You'll get a better sense of some of it. And then you can do one of his calls to actions and sit down and talk to one of our salespeople. So I originally wrote a lot of that stuff out that I just talked about through, well, I didn't write it out, but I organized it utilizing Meta AI. Then when I went back to the Meta AI, it was not there. So I'm not super happy with Meta AI at this exact moment in time because I couldn't find out where it's holding my chats at. Where ChatGPT, if you know me, I'm very big into being able to organize things into folders, organize them by subfolders, have access to things, rename things, tag things, color code them so I can access them. Now, I can't do all that stuff in ChatGPT, but ChatGPT does have a lot of organizational features in their pro plan or their plus plan or whatever the $20 plan is. But again, Meta does have artificial intelligence. It's Meta AI. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because I actually bought the Ray-Bans. So I want to talk a little bit about the Meta Ray-Bans that I have, and some of the benefits of maybe being an early adopter. So first off, one of the things that I loved about the Meta Ray-Bans is the speaker system that's inside of them. So I called my mom. The conversation worked great. I called her on the phone, but it could also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I have it connected to all of my Facebook, my WhatsApp, and my Instagram, all my Meta stuff. So I believe that you can make calls through those different applications as well if you have them connected to it. So it made it very easy to have a phone conversation, and the phone conversation on the Meta were better than my S21 Samsung, but I've probably dropped this 1,000 times. It's got a case on, and I'm sure the phone is garbage on it. And so I think that's one of the first things that I enjoyed about it. The second thing that I liked about it is when you have it connected to Instagram and you go live, you can swap between the viewing of you through the phone and the viewing of the glasses moving out. So for instance, if I were to go and maybe do a live where I'm talking and then I had a whiteboard that I wanted people to see the whiteboard, I could switch to the glasses. I could have the whiteboard as like the live, and then write into it and then switch back into it for people to see me, which I think is one of the best features if you're an educator and you're a live educator. And that's one of the first things that I want to test. My biggest dilemma is I gave my whiteboard away to Coach JV. It's at our I didn't give it away. I just took it to the 3D center. It was a huge whiteboard. I didn't use it enough. There was no reason to have it. Started collecting musical instruments. I have a bunch of crap in this room that I got to move out. But long story short, it's not here, so I don't have it. Also, I like the flip paper thingies, but it seems like a waste of paper. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I think what I'll definitely do is do a live that talks a little bit about starting to educate people on business and other, things that are important, and do utilize the glasses from that live feature. Second thing, the recording. I tested the recording. It looks great through the Metas. Now I have the Wayfarer. The ones that I have, they're just lenses. They're not prescription because I don't want to have them on all the time. I like wearing my contacts. I get a better sense of view with my contacts on. And I just like that a lot more. So if I'm doing it, I would prefer to do it where I'm like I said, I have the glasses on and then I can take them off and I can still see. So I just have like clear glasses. I thought that I asked them to make it where they transition into the sunlight, but that didn't seem to be working, which is okay because the other thing that happened, and I'll get to this in a moment, is that the Oakleys came out, or the Oakleys are going to come out. I signed up for the list. So when the Oakleys come out, I'll probably get those as well. And that's part of one of the things that I was talking about before. What pushed me forward in life was being an early adopter of technology. But back to the Ray-Bans. So it's got a clicker on the top. You click that bad boy once, it takes a picture. You hold it down, it starts the recording. You hold it down again, it stops recording, I believe. You can listen to music in it. Did not have the ability to do YouTube music. It was Amazon, Spotify, my arch nemesis, and then an iHeart. Not interested in listening to any of those or paying any of those people to listen to music. But it's got a slider on the side. It's really cool. I guess that if you're using the sunglasses as sunglasses, that would be cool. You could use them when you run. However, my favorite running glasses or glasses outside are gooder because they're non-slip. These didn't seem very non-slip. When the Oakleys come out, I can definitely see using them more in a sports capacity. The other thing that, and I think that was really about it that it does on them. Oh, you have the access to talk to AI. You can just say Meta AI. You can ask it questions. I asked it about the weather. It worked really, really well. And so I think as a companion piece, it's really beneficial, but I think it's also really only beneficial if you're really into social media. I believe there's newer ones that came out that you can post to stories. I don't know if mine can post to stories or not, but I think maybe it can. I'll have to check that out and give you guys an update as I play more with them and I do more with them. But overall, I think the glasses work really, really great. I think it's a great concept. And I think what's really important about it is it's a step in the right direction of at some point in time getting the Ray-Ban glasses to be augmented reality or wearable glasses like that to be augmented reality. Then that way we don't have to have like these big augmented reality headsets on. That's the way that it's going. And eventually I would imagine that our glasses in some capacity overtake our normal use of our phone. But I think that that's years out. Like, that's a while out, right? Like getting our glasses and these types of wearables to really get rid of our phone. The augmented reality piece of it would have to be really, really good to be able to have the applications in it, to be able to have the ability to see the application in, augmented reality air. And be able to use it. So I think that that's a little bit of the ways out, but I think that that's kind of like the step that Meta envisions for the future. And I think that that would be a really great future, especially because we wouldn't have to be always tied to our phone the way we're tied to it. I don't know. Those are just my thoughts on it, but I would recommend that you check them out. Again, I think they're really more beneficial if you create content or you're really in love with social media and you really want to be involved with social media and showing your life out there. Other than that, I don't know. They're still a little gimmicky for just a regular, ordinary person to have them. So again, I think getting more of the augmented reality stuff in there is really going to and make it useful for the everyday person that's not, someone who's really into social media and doing social media things. I think that that's when it'll take it to the next level. But again, as I go into the things that I used to be good at or the things that I did in the past that really set me apart and helped me get to where I'm at today, one of those things was being an early adopter. And so I think when you are an early adopter, I think it's beneficial for me because, and I think it can be beneficial for everybody if you have the ability to kind of the time to put into it and the money to put into it and know that sometimes you might waste some of the money on things that are going to flop, right? There was a time when I was really obsessed with BlackBerry about the BlackBerry tablet. I was like, well, this is going to turn it around. This is amazing. And it did not turn BlackBerry around, and it was a waste of time and money. Things that I wish I would have been a really good early adopter on was the iPad, was the smartwatch. Like, I was an early adopter for the Samsung smartwatch, not the Apple Watch. And then for some reason, I kind of fell away from being very tech focused. And that's something that I want to get back to. But some of the reasons to be an early adopter are because it provides a competitive edge. So you gain access to cutting edge tools. You can get into the innovation before the market gets saturated. Early access allows you to build a better expertise while others are just catching up. And that's one of the things that set me apart from it is because people would always come to me, oh, do you know about this? Because people thought of me in that capacity of like someone who would get the tech stuff. And I think that kind of like created this persona about me that I knew how to do podcasting, which is the reason why CJV asked me about podcasting, because I seemed to be into that type of stuff, right? Because I was always ahead of the game. And again, that's one of the main reasons why I'm here today. So when I'm looking at that, that should be one of the main things that I need to keep as part of my overall brand moving forward. Influence on development. So again, your feedback often shapes product direction. Early adopters are frequently consulted by developers. There's stuff that I've been testing with Instagram. They reach out to me for my feedback. So again, you have direct input. You don't think that you do, but companies that are really big into consumer research and consumer feedback in developing the future of the product that they put out will really reach out to you. Now, there's that saying where, Steve Jobs said people don't know what they want. You have to give it to them. Like they might not have, chosen, I don't know, a car over a horse or something. I don't know what this is. There's like I don't know, an analogy somewhere about that. And you just kind of had to show them, or a car over a horse. Yeah, car over a horse or something. And so sometimes you just have to innovate and push it because sometimes people don't know what they want. But when it's out there and you're wanting to make it better, feedback, I think, can be really important. It also can help with market positioning. Businesses that adopt new tech, like from a business perspective, or platforms early, can position themselves as leaders or pioneers in that industry. And then you can become a thought leader in that space. Maybe you can create a way where you have a side, revenue stream inside of that business where you teach other businesses about it. Right. And so that's one of the things that kind of happens with us because we got so big with TikTok so fast, or CJV really. CJV got big with TikTok so fast. And then the team kind of like implemented some other stuff and kind of went into some other platforms. But his discipline and consistency, skyrocketed a lot of that. But the way in which he presents it, a lot of people still come to us or to him to learn about that. Right. Now, we weren't like early in it per se, like we were really early into TikTok. But again, when you have this like position where you're a thought leader in that, or you're a leader in that industry, people come to you. You also have like learning curve advantages. So you master systems and trends before they become mainstream and helps put you in a really good position. And all these things can be for businesses and essentially for individuals as well. Early pricing, or there's sometimes early pricing deals when you buy something, out the gate. It's usually not the case. I have found that personally, when you buy, when you're really trying to be a first stop, like the Wii U, I bought the Wii U right out the gate. I don't know, it wasn't that great. And I guess it was kind of like intermediary to the Switch, but and one of the things I am frustrated about is I don't have a Switch 2 yet, but we're not gonna talk about that. But I'm definitely going to have the ROG Ally right out the gate from Microsoft. The thing that I think that I need to do better at, and this is just me kind of sharing my personal thoughts, because this is what this podcast is about, is that I wish that I did more like reviews about stuff. Not like traditional reviews, but maybe like at least some short reviews about, hey, I got this ROG Ally. This is what I really like about it. Let me show you this. I really need to focus on that as when I buy new stuff, to really kind of position that in the world that I'm like a leader in those, not a leader in the technology, but like a first adopter in it. And I think that that's one of the things that if you are on social media, that if you buy a lot of equipment and you buy a lot of stuff, make some shorts about it. They don't have to be these really long YouTube videos doing a full analysis of the thing, but you can do some shorts saying, hey, like, this is what I'm planning to do with these are my thoughts on this. Maybe that'll work out for you, because again, the education thing and the getting those ideas out there are a lot of the reasons why people blow up in social media. And even if it's not from a perspective of blowing up in social media, you can still get it out there and still help some people. My goal is to always help people and educate people. And if the 1 million people see it, great. If 100 people see it and 2 people take it, I help those 2 people. The other thing is, being early often means you're a part of a smaller, high value community, which is something that I want to do more, be more a part of these smaller communities about a lot of this tech stuff. But you can really build good networking and good relationships. The one thing I've been spending a lot of time on relationships, from a perspective of being happier in life, and from a perspective is my net worth is created by my network. And relationship building is like a full-time job. Even from a friendship relationship building, it can be a full-time job. Especially if I found that, especially if you can't get your friends to do stuff during the weekdays, it can get very exhausting because all of your weekends, when it's your time, right, your extra time to maybe sit or do something, is all taken up. But again, being a part of these early adopter communities for whatever the tech is or for whatever it is that you are into, again, you can really build good relationships. And if you harness those relationships and are and have a plan to building those relationships and acquaintances and different levels of your circle of connectedness, which I put on my Instagram, I'll maybe talk about that on another podcast. You can really build some strong relationships. And then brand association with innovation. Your personal or company brand becomes associated with innovation, agility, and forward thinking. And that is the number one thing that I used to pride myself on and try to be a part of as I was building these businesses over these last 8 years, that I just kind of forgot about building that personal brand or that piece of it over some of this time doing all of the stuff that I'm doing. And so I'm really trying to harness that, get better at that, and then push that out as, you know, someone who is an early adopter so that I can position myself as someone who is associated with innovation, agility, and forward thinking. And so the other thing we had this last weekend, I did this really cool, I've been writing a music project with some friends, just cause I love music. I want to put music out there. I'd love to have a record label. Even if it's just for independent artists, or even if it's for artists here in Arizona to help them get their music produced and out the gate, or to help them with shows or whatever the case is. And we met our drummer played. It was fantastic. We had a lot of fun. The music that we've been writing has sounded great, much better with having the drummer there than me and Chuck playing with our guitars on electric guitar. If it was two acoustic guitars, it'd probably make it work pretty good. The electric guitars, we were all over the place. And so the drummer really brought a lot of coordination to that, organization and structure to it, which again is part of the drummer's job. And so, or they feel not like the drummer's job to create that. We created it with the drummer, but the drummer then just kind of filled it all in and it made it feel full. And so, but like the gentleman that we were talking to, he's my age. And like, I don't want to say that he didn't have like any like his aspirations were to play drums and to have fun doing it. So I can't be wrong with that. Our aspirations is to, you know, change the world, build businesses, maybe start a studio. Maybe it's just us that have the studio. And I didn't get the sense that he was like really passionate about that part of it, which is fine. I'm not saying that he has to be. It's really hard to say. I don't want to say that like that we're like thinking that we're going to be famous or anything, right? That's not really the goal here. The goal is just to make music, get people to listen to it. And he just seemed to have some like negative kind of attitudes towards some of that, like getting out there and having people really care about your music. Cause I think that people still can, even if it's in a small way. And so I think that that's one of the things that also I think an early adopter can help with. You know, I had mentioned that we could do a TikTok live. He's not on social media. I told him that we talk on Facebook Messenger, and he thought that was a little strange that we have our band group on Facebook Messenger. And that's how we communicate with each other. And so I think that, and again, there's nothing, I'm not like judging him on any of that, but I think that like being an early adopter, in my opinion, can also help you feel, you know, innovated about what you're also doing into the future. I think that we put this time constraint on our ability to be successful and how we can get there, but you can start being successful in your 40s. Coach JV didn't start 3-2 Academy until he was 41. He didn't start becoming a social media influencer probably till he was 43 or 44. He's 49 now. We have over 2 million followers. I'm only 41. I'm still building my brand and pushing that out there and trying to build our Age of Radio business, our Q Financial business, continuing to build 3-2 Academy, our Freedom Insurance business. You have the time. You just have to organize that time and it be something that you want. Again, if someone doesn't want something, they're not going to get it, right? You have to also want it and be passionate about it. And again, not judging, our drummer friend, great guy, very seemed like a very genuine person, took care of his family, things of that nature. But again, I just encourage you people to continue to dream, people to continue to do what they want. He made a comment that he has someone that's in there older than us, which means he's older than 40, that's still trying to be like a famous musician. And again, I don't think that you have to really focus on the fame part, but again, if that's what his dream is, I say encourage him, because you never know. He could get to 50, 55, and one of his songs take off and boom, he's a famous musician, even if it's just for that moment in time. Or maybe it opens a door for him to write music for someone else. So again, I think being an early adopter can help you be innovative about your life and where you're going. So again, dive in, have fun, be safe. I don't know why I said be safe. And I guess buy some Meta Ray-Bans. The other thing real quick I want to say about Meta AI is play with Meta AI. It's integrated into everything: Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook. There's also the Meta AI app. And it's okay. I mean, I really like ChatGPT. I'm going to try to play with Meta AI more. As I play with it more, hopefully I'll come back here and talk about it on our social segment. I was thinking about like what happened since last week, and last week was a really good week. Got a lot of stuff done, really got a lot of stuff organized. I got my big ass calendar finally up. And if you don't know what the big ass calendar is, I highly recommend that you, I don't know, look at one, just so you know what I'm talking about. But it allows you to put in like really important things throughout the year. And like you can then see like the different things that are actually happening in your life from a more meaningful perspective, and the things that you want to live a meaningful life are up there. One of the reasons I think time passes so fast, at least the research kind of shows, we don't know why time passes so much faster as we get older, but the research kind of suggests that it could be because there's a continued routine of what we're doing, and we don't break up that routine. And the big ass calendar can kind of let you see that and organize it. And the reason why this is important and why I'm talking about it right now is because that's a specific thing that I did, that from an organizational level, to manage and run my life better. Okay. And so, one of the things that, as I've alluded to in this podcast so far, has been to kind of look at the things that I've done really well over the years that have helped get me to this place, and go harder into them and more disciplined into them. And one of those reasons is kind of like looking at your life as an organization. And I don't know I don't have like a framework for it yet for me. But I have some ideas of things that can kind of like run your life as an organization. Another way to look is like running your life like a business. I told that to my wife once, but she always felt that like family ruined business, because she had bad relationship with her uncle, who rest in peace. She had bad relation with her uncle about how he treated her family, and her kids, and how he treated his family and his kids, I guess. And so she always had this bad connotation. So I kind of changed my verbiage on that. You run your business like your family, like an organization. And what I mean by that is, one, like you have roles that exist inside of your family, not only in your immediate family, but in your tribe. If you're working, with multiple people, like for example, like let's say, I have in my family Tyler went to school for library science. If I would love to pay him to do genealogy research and manage our website for our family. Okay. Now, I don't necessarily think that you would have to pay everybody to do that. I'm choosing to pay him because he's busy, and he's not an immediate family. So I'm not like super close to him, but I'm like, hey, Tyler, can you do this for me? That's like a role that's inside of a family. Maybe there's a role that's inside of your family that manages your family reunions, right? This is no different than the roles that would exist inside of a business. So again, there's like this organizational chart of the people that are in your family, the people that are doing certain things in your family, a hierarchical, like immediate portion of your family, and then a hierarchical extended version of your family, right? And so again, those are some of the things that are important. To running your family and moving your family forward. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think a lot of families move forward, is because they don't have like a role set category or a plan, right? Which is, I'm going to come up here in a second, a vision of what's happening, right? So like having a vision of where your family is going is so important. And there's two things that can really help with that: is a mission statement, right? like your daily operate, like what is the mission of your family? And you can do this in different categories. Like you could have, what's the mission of your cousins? What's the mission of your immediate family? What's the mission of your extended family? Okay. And along with that is to have a family council that helps organize and run all the things that you want the family to do. And so I hear it inside of like books like 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. Their family seems so much closer. Now I know that he's Stephen Covey was a very religious man. They were Mormons. Mormon families seem to be very closer than other families. From my experience, not saying that that's how all of them are. It's very stereotypical, but to see them like have family meetings, right? Which is another big thing that you can do to move your family forward, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this idea of having a family mission, like I don't have really like an immediate, like me and my wife are, in the process of kind of like separating and going our separate ways. We'll still remain friends. We'll still have probably this house. We'll still maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll do other stuff in the future. I don't know. But the point is that like, my family is like my cousins, my tribe, and you could do it from like a tribe organization as well. I like using the word tribe because that's what they're a clan. That's what they call them in Japan. Like you're part of a clan, you're part of a mafia family, right? And so you can have that in that as well. Okay. If you don't have like an immediate like family, but then you can have your extended family. But again, to have a family mission, a clan mission, what you're trying to be a part of, if you're a part of this, having a family council that meets to organize a lot of this, having family meetings to help organize this and keep things on track, right? So again, thinking of this from a high level, this is like organizational stuff. I used to live by having different missions for different things that I was doing in my life, and I got away from doing that because again, we get caught up in this routine of working and building businesses, in my case, having some family time, not taking the time with your friends, putting that energy into other stuff and not really organizing your life. And a lot of that can be fixed by having some of these simple things like a mission statement. Then the other thing is, when we're thinking about budgeting, right? How does the family look for their treasury? We always talk about business treasury, having money set aside for the future, but what's the family treasury look like? And not only if you can, right? You can, it's hard. If you can not only do that for you, but like with your grandparents, what is that money that looks like for all of your family to move forward into the future? The families that actually work together like that are the ones that can really, really move themselves into the future. But it takes a lot of education. It could take a lot of counseling to get everybody on board with being okay, giving $100 into a family every month. Maybe some of the family members aren't at the same other levels of the family members, right? But again, if you have a lot of these things for your family, then you could have conversations about, okay, how can we help Jim to get to the next level of his life? Does he need help with schooling? Does he need education? Is he, does he not want to be a part of this? Should we just stop that? Could we bring him in closer? Right. The problem with a lot of this is always communication. The best skill that anybody can learn is be open about and communicating with individuals about what's going on in life and being vulnerable with them. And that's why I said before, relationship building is really, really difficult and really, really hard and really time consuming. But I will tell you that the in the year that I've been focusing on it, sometimes I focus on it in months better than others. In the time that I've been focusing on this, since last year, it hasn't even been a full year yet. I have strengthened relationships. I have built new relationships, and I feel that no matter what, I have individuals that I can confide in on things that are in my life. And so you want to build that with these people that in your family. So then you can have conversations with them about building a long-term treasury for the family, a long-term, investment, starting businesses with the family, having a family budget, right? And again, not just in the middle, not just in your immediate family, but in the extended family also, right? If a new cousin wanted to have a startup, how do they come to that family treasury and ask for money? Right. That's one of the things that we talk about in our 3T Warrior Academy about having a family trust or Rockefeller trust, right? With John's family, it's immediate. It's just going to be with his daughter and his son at the beginning of it. But, if they're educated properly, then it can extend to their children and their children's children and so forth. and it doesn't just have to be that. It can have cousins involved. It can have the people. It just depends on how your relationships are with your family, right? So again, mission probably first, organizing like who's in charge of what inside of the family, and how and having a framework and a process for bringing people in. And again, I'm actually having this conversation trying to like talk it all out and get ideas for myself as well. So again, I'm not 100% doing any of this by any means. My goal is to share with you what I'm learning, and what I'm thinking about going and doing it, and also coming back and sharing with you, because this was kind of what I was trying to do before life kind of got in the way. So one of the things that we don't do in our families that you can run as an organization is reviewing and having KPIs, right? Like weekly check-ins with where the budgeting is, where your time is spent with certain family members, the events that you're doing, the businesses that you're doing, what the treasury looks like, right? If you have a family council, when's the last time the family council met? How are we collecting artifacts of the family, right? Like I have artifacts of my family. I have my great grandmother's education degree. I have my great grandfather's coin dispenser that he had when he had a mobile gas fuel tank company where he would go and fuel up people's cars with gasoline. And he had this like little change thing on the side that he would get the coins out of. Like those are family artifacts that could be in a family museum. Does it have to, if you're wealthy enough, yeah, you could have a physical place where small little business or like a side part of your own business that you have where people could go and see that stuff, or it could be a little small spot in someone's, house, right? Do you have family ashes to be a part of that? Do you have, family grimoires? There's all kinds of stuff that can be a part of what you're trying to accomplish, right? And so it's so important to make sure that you have a plan in place and a mission of what this specifically looks like. And then there's risk management and crises response, right? What are your standard operating procedures if someone gets sick? How often are you collecting information on your family's health history? Who's organizing that? Who's looking at it? Who's being cognizant of it? Who is, if, someone was to pass away, is there trust put in place? If you have larger, like if you have a cabin, who's running it, right? Like what happens if someone breaks in? What's the insurance on it, right? These are all things that you do inside of a business, but we neglect them a lot of the times in our own lives. And what if we took all of that, organized it for how we run our life, and how amazing that could be, and how much further we could push our family if we ran it like an organization. And then again, along with the organizational chart, what's that delegation look like? How can you automate a lot of these things? Are there chores that can be done? Is there if you have a family cabin, or if you, for your intermediate house, who's running the chores, right? Who is, uh, um, who is responsible for, say, the laundry? Who is responsible for, having our Discord channel, or the ways in which we communicate? Is everybody part of a Facebook group? Who's responsible for sending out the new family newsletter? Again, you delegate a lot of this stuff, and that's how you can really push, your family forward. So again, the more family that you have good relationships with, the more that you can work with these things on. But again, I'm going to go back to the fact that relationships take a lot of time. And again, you can take all of these concepts for a business and somehow integrate them in your family. For example, perfect example, me and my mom, who I do business with, we have a family calendar. All of our stuff for our family goes on that specific calendar. What's going on with the family? What's going on with my grandparents? Who's taking my grandparents' places? And my Aunt Kathy, she will not use a family calendar. It's ridiculous, but me and my mom use it. I know what's going on with my grandparents. I am able to reach out to her. We're working on putting all the birthdays as a part of that. You could think about like, okay, what about food, right? What about family food? Where are all the family recipes at? Are they in a database that you can grab, you can organize? Again, this is running your family like an organization. And again, for me, that stuff is fun. I don't know if it's fun for other people. I don't know. But again, it helps mitigate stress and craziness in the world, and also pushes your family forward. I don't know shit about what my grandparents used to cook. My great grandparents used to cook. My grandma probably has recipe upon recipe upon recipe, as those were passed down for generation, right? If that was a business, right? if that was business stuff, they would take that and they would digitize it. And in that digitization, they would make it where certain people in the family have access, certain people don't, whatever. Maybe in our case, with family, everybody would have access to it. But again, those are the things that I'm talking about. How are family pictures organized? How are you putting that up into the world? How are you sharing that with people? It is effing exhausting. It sounds like, I know, but I guarantee you, when I used to try to do some of this stuff, I had a freaking felt so good about the world and family and values, right? And then the life takes over, you get stuck working, you don't do any of that. And some of that stuff falls by the wayside. But if you put in the energy to it, I guarantee you, it's so worth it if you put the energy into it. And I just go back to the small amount of stuff that I've been doing with my friends, organizing our friendships, how we're communicating with each other, getting in cadences of seeing each other on a regular basis with the ones that are close, getting in cadences of seeing some of the other ones less frequent, more frequently, but less frequently than the other ones, right? Again, I encourage everybody to read Frientimacy. It's a book that completely changed my life. It's about women and build. Sorry, I don't know if I'm a woman or not, but it's for women and building their relationship bonds. And man, men, if you're out there and you try it and you really focus on building relationships with people, my God, our men will completely 100% change, because I can just see it in myself. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. This concept of organizations. I'm sorry if it was kind of like all over the place. I'm trying to get a grip on it. I'm trying to find ways to do this, and I'm wanting to share that with you, because again, this is the stuff that I'm learning and that I'm going through as I continue forward on my pathway to be a philanthropist, a billionaire, or I guess I am a billionaire and a philanthropist and a thought leader in the space. And this is just us getting to that next level. So with that, be thankful, grateful, and kind, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for choosing to listen to the Age of Jeremy. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Share it if your podcatcher allows you to. I don't know why I wouldn't. The opening song was Can't Be Cool Forever by Medium Bill. The closing song was Mutable by Spanish Love Songs. I'm recording into a Neumann microphone, into a Zoom L8 mixer, onto Steinberg's Cubase, I should say. And I use Waves plugins with Post. And one last time, be thankful, grateful, and kind. We'll talk with you soon. Bye.
If the fall would go down easy, then I could picture sinking in. Wish I could live my life until I go.